What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Carbonite Bounty BS with me and the nerds. How's everyone doing?
Yay!
Yeah, we're
Right.
live now. I got the notification.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for dragging me right like as soon as the
uh,
episode's
as we say weekly, the modern marvels of live TV, right? The modern
all right.
marvels, guys. But yeah, man, welcome to our finale of, as we see, Kenobi. So we got our final episode there. I mean, wow, what a lot of stuff, man, and some shocking revelations as we've seen. So before we dive into that, let's let our guy DP let you know where to find us at.
Nerdcyclopedia.com. People, make sure that you're going on to our website. Visit all your social media platforms on there, Facebook, Twitter, and also Instagram at Nerdcyclopedia. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you. Make sure that you are hitting that subscribe button, hitting that notification button, so anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. Make sure that you also share us with your friends if you love us. If you like what we're presenting to you as far as the content and also like, the spit takes and everything, and also the other takes and stuff. Make sure that if you are watching us on Facebook, you are also sharing there and also going to our Facebook group, Carbonite Bounty BS, a Star Wars group. You get all your favorite memes on there and all your favorite, content and, interaction and stuff. So we love interacting with you also on there. Also, leave us some feedback, nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com. We love getting your feedback and also love spitting it back to you. Listening to us on podcasts. We are on Spotify, Google, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. And I would be remiss to not to shout out NCFS is a thing. we got our show going on right now called The Boys every Monday night, 10 o'clock. And they got some really crazy stuff coming up this week, I hear. So make sure you guys tune in and get our reaction to The Boys. All right, as we get our boys onto the subjects. Bam! Booyah!
Appreciate it, DP, and what a way to lead into everything. I mean, we just finished up Kenobi, a 6-episode run. Did man, where was this at? I would say from episodes 4 and 5, but wow, what a way to end it. I mean, arguably, and this is controversially, this will be my first point of the night. I mean, the greatest lightsaber duel, I've seen. Arguably. So, I mean, I'm sitting there like, wow, the fight, the scenes. I mean, this is, I wouldn't say full powered Vader, but this is a stronger Vader than we've seen and a stronger Kenobi than we've seen. I mean, this is arguably the two strongest Jedi's we saw battle live, on live TV or any kind of medium. So great to see on my points. I mean, the interaction, like, I was literally, I was speechless. I think it was like 54 minutes, so it was a lot. Um, you guys can get in your pieces, but I guess they tied it together when they talked about the foreshadowing of if you need old man, Obi Wan, and I guess they tied it to 4, so we might not get a season 2. I'd like to see it, but I mean they kind of did the whole finale thing of wrapping it up if they were to wrap it up. So I understood that. Deborah Chow did a good job. I think she did all 6 episodes, so she did a great job with this whole series. Little lulls in it, but overall, I was so excited. And this episode itself, as we dive into it after we get everybody's initial reaction, man, that's all. I was speechless. Like to see that duel and to see what happened as we get into that, like, oh my gosh, Rebels-esque that slice. So I mean, wow. What about you, Mr. Owen?
So
Okay.
I gotta start with the end. So the relationship between Obi-Wan and Leia, and then Obi-Wan meeting Luke. I mean, those two scenes were so impactful for me as a super fan. Just going by what I'm seeing, really love that relationship grow between Obi-Wan and Leia because we know it's very strong. And Ben Kenobi meets Luke for the first time with the T-16 Skyhopper model in his hand that we see Luke playing with in A New Hope. I mean, that to me is a connection that really brought everything together for me. The battle between Anakin and Kenobi, I mean, that was legit. Like,
oh wow, yeah.
And Kenobi brought the rock attack. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Took him down. it was nice to see it turn the table that way. But then the conversation that they had after his helmet was sliced open, the conversation they had was very almost, it got back to that sort of master Padawan relationship.
Right.
You know, they were both trying each other out. Like, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? You know, like, how does this work? Do you speak first? Do you speak first? You know, the kind of thing that they're trying to work in the you know, between Kylo Ren and Poe Dameron. You know, there was this whole sort of like,
Right.
I respect you, but come on, give me something. And so a Jedi Knight buried under rock escapes. That to me, I've never even dreamed of or thought of. That was great. I mean, that made Obi Wan Kenobi probably the most powerful Jedi in the entire universe for me. But overall, this episode to me was a 10 out of 10. I don't see any faults with it. I think it brought Star Wars back to where it should be. The universe is aligned. The music, the soundtrack, Obi-Wan talking to Leia, and we hear the theme, Princess Leia's theme brought in as he's talking to her. He gives her a holster with no blaster, and she's wearing it. Open carry, very, very legit for a 10-year-old. I like it. So many things going on here that they really just hit it out of the park, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, this episode was a great finale, season finale, not series finale.
I hope. What about you, Hitch?
I hope.
Yeah.
So this series accomplished a lot of stuff I really liked, and it's set up in a way that they could stop making these if you know, for some reason they ever needed to quit printing money. But there's also no reason for them to stop making these, since they probably would like to keep printing money. So my sincere hope is that they think about that and they make a lot more content in this vein with these characters interacting in these ways. I really, really enjoy. I enjoy the way they brought, you know, Owen Lars even full circle in this. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of attention to detail. So I guess for me, it's like the divide between the stuff that is legacy, right? All that stuff is great. Everything that is like Spirit of 77, like I keep talking about, is excellent. I think that, you know, a lot of motivations are tied up. I think a lot of, you know, long-term fan questions like, is he spitting that at him? Does he think it's his first name? Is it a mistake when he says that in A New Hope?
Yeah, that was like...
Nope, it's not. It's legit a dig, like it sounds. So, you know, to that extent, I thought all of that was excellent. And, you know, what could you ask for more beyond that exchange where he says, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did. What a chilling, incredible friggin' moment. On par for me with, you know, Luke's X-Wing appearing out of nowhere in The Mandalorian.
Right.
And for it to also be the introduction of this new iteration of the Leia character that I just really like it. I don't know how else to say that. Like if there's, you know, if nobody else could be Leia but Carrie Fisher, right? They found a way to cheat that because Carrie Fisher didn't play her until she was an adult. And I think that this really works. Again, the actress is incredible. All the scenes with her were good. They had an excellent pathos. And I just have a soft spot for this relationship between Kenobi and Leia, I guess. It just is what it is. So for me, I mean, you know, all of that is excellent and I loved it. So what didn't I like? Well, that's a good question. And I think that for some reason the Reva stuff doesn't pan out all the way for me. It doesn't land with the sort of right emotional heft. And I think we come back to the same, you know, problem that we experienced with this character earlier in the series, which is, why is she so like evil? Like what's the, you know what I mean? And getting stabbed by an authority figure. Okay, sure. Like I get that, you know, the sense of betrayal and stuff, but something else had to have happened to kind of radicalize her, you know, re-radicalize her against the Jedi or something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's good that she gets a little bit of redemption here and chooses freedom. But I wish they hadn't chosen to leave her such a cipher.
Right.
Where, you know, you're allowed to project your own sort of ideas about what her motivations are. I wish they would have filled that in more. And I think that would have made that, you know, that character arc more fulfilling for me in this story. To be clear, I do think the performance is good. And I think that if they'd filled in some of that information for me and I understood exactly what she was trying to do the whole time, instead of trying to retrofit that she was actually going to kill Vader at the end, which didn't, I don't know, it just didn't seem like something that would make sense. You know what I mean? Like, why would she have waited till now to do it? You know, why not while he's in the back of the tank or something? Like, why let him get in the suit? You know, that again, I need more information about that character, but I would want to see more information about that character. If they put that in like an anime short, or they decided to do a one-off in some sort of like anthology series, or if they just continue her be involved with this group of characters, I'd be fine with that. But if there was anything about this that was disappointing, it was that. But I don't want to get that, like, to lose that in the sea of what I think is extremely excellent Star Wars TV. And I may agree with you, team. It's just just a really great lightsaber fight. Just really awesome action.
Yeah. What about you, DP?
Yeah, it was a good episode. It was a really good episode. I think my patience is to the point where I'm ready to get on to like the more newer characters instead of the legacy stuff. You know, the legacy stuff is fine to a degree, but I'm just now coming on board with, like, you know, a lot of this newer stuff from the Clone Wars and Bad Batch and, like, you know, Rebels and everything. I'm loving those characters a whole ton more than like you guys are, like, you know, the you love, like, your legacy characters, which I can appreciate. You know, Obi-Wan, he's okay to me. I thought the lightsaber battle, of course, that was a highlighted episode. To the point where I was getting sort of upset that we had to intercut it with the B plot of, you know, Reba going to, like, you know, Tatooine and doing all her stuff. You know, you know, they could have done a better job. I mean, how are you going to interrupt such a great lightsaber battle with that? You know, and just keep going back and forth. Just cut it. If you're going to make it epic, this is Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan. You cannot cut that, you know, for the B plot. That is just, you know, it's sort of like sacrilegious to a way if you're going to have Vader in this thing as much as you had him in, you know. So I thought the whole lifting of the boulders was just, like, excellent. It reminded me of, like, you know, Night King on, like, Game of Thrones, when he was lifting up all the soldiers, you know, all his dead soldiers and everything. That was just, like, you know, some classic stuff. Yeah, everything, you know, with Darth Vader and Obi and, you know, Anakin, you know, I love. Just like, you know, still he, you know, was saying the Reva stuff, they could have just left. They could. The problem to me was that from the start, I think she was a bad villain. Period. She didn't really make that believable to me as far as her villainy. You know, with that character. If they had made her redemption, you could see redemption just coming from a mile away. You know, his trophy is what it was, you know, as much as it was from when she got taken through, like, Order 66 and everything and got changed. You saw her redemption coming, you know, towards this end and stuff. So it was like, okay, we saw that coming. If they had moved that back further towards maybe like the first or second episode, and then she became a likable character, because I liked her at the end. I didn't like her throughout the whole series, you know, until the very end where she actually had emotion and you can, you know, sort of like feel something for her, you know. I want that character versus the villain, you know, villainous, you know, that we've seen throughout, like, this whole series. It just made her motivations and her tone and her attitude just like, okay, you go from being just angry, you know, to this, and you just can't do it, you know, at the end. I don't know about that. That's not a great feeling to me, you know. So, I mean, other than that, you know, they could have left all that stuff out and just pared it down to just focus on Vader and Obi-Wan. You know, Leia stuff is excellent. The Luke Skywalker stuff is decent. You know, I can see these two, you know, they sort of have marks on their backs because now they're going to be known for Leia and Luke Skywalker. So I can see at any point in time, you know, if they continue to act and grow older and actually be halfway decent actors and actresses, these are going to be our new Leia, you know, Leia and Luke, you know. So they could go, especially with Leia, they could definitely go that route if she just keeps up, because she has talent. You know,
you've seen that at a young age with what was that, Millie Bobby Brown, as she progressed through the Stranger Things seasons. This girl can ride that part.
Too.
She's
Yeah,
on
that
point and everything.
this
But
girl has that same kind of acting
yeah,
ability to grow into that part.
yep. She could definitely do it. But overall, I thought the episode was good. You know, like I said, I'm not as enthused about it as I think you guys are. But I love like the lightsaber battle. I thought that was just excellent. I just thought they could have made it more epic by not including any of the B plot stuff.
Yeah. And you know, I definitely second that. But as we jump into, we'll just jump into our topics as usual. I want to touch back with Hitset and that Reva stuff because that seems to be like, and I said in our group chat, obviously offline, that I thought this was a 9.8, and that was like the point two.
Mhm.
Reva wasn't a bad character, but you guys said it like the whole, even the Inquisitors. I mean, we see them for a second. We didn't even see the other two. They're not dead, so like it's almost like save that, and then we'll get to this later in the show. But I mean,
They were an afterthought. They
this
just
sets up
like
for
threw 'em in, yeah.
this sets up for a Vader series. You cannot now have a Vader show and talk about the him and the Inquisitors or doing other things because they were, if not, like there was no payoff for the Grand Inquisitor. There was no payoff for the other two. I mean, the brother or the other sister, like. And then, you know, we talked about it. So now Reva, is she going to have her own series? Is she, I mean, I would love to see her get one of those lightsabers, you know, those Jedi lightsabers. She's basically been reformed, right? So I thought the payoff would have been of him handing her a lightsaber, her picking up a light colored lightsaber or something, because I essentially seeing her taking over, what was it, Tara? What was her character's name? Who got
Tar,
shot in
yeah.
the head? Or yeah, she can be more somebody seeking out Jedi and that kind of underground network type feel. So I can see her,
They wait until the last episode to make her interesting.
right?
Mhm.
That's why I was just like, so yeah, Hit said it. That was like the big kind of her force
So
powers like were
so what would they do? What would they do? Obi-Wan meets up with Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon continues his training. Qui-Gon's
That
like,
hey,
gotta take the
that's like a
Padawan.
big giant plot hole, by the way, because that wasn't supposed to happen. That was like a Disney check cash, because
Well,
yeah,
they
Qui-Gon
they
never
did it.
finished.
Just have
They
Liam
did it.
Neeson in the show
Yeah,
for the last 5 seconds.
Canon says that Qui-Gon never finished that training, so he technically wasn't supposed to
George
see him. But
Lucas just
I
Well,
was,
that.
yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
was,
okay.
And
So
I
they
beg to
brought the
differ because
story.
we know there's nothing more canon than what's actually on the screen.
Right.
So
That's it.
correct.
That's reality. So
So
for Obi-Wan to continue his training, he has to take a Padawan. What a perfect fit. Like he's already bonded with her. He
yeah,
can pull her up. And okay, so Kenobi kind of failed with Anakin. Maybe not. Anakin said it. Darth said it. You didn't kill him. I did.
right.
I killed the good in me,
Yeah,
which had a whole, like, I watched this episode a couple times. I thought, is he like schizophrenic? Is there like a multi-personality going on here? What's happening? But then I get it because Anakin Darth killed what he felt was the weakness in his personality. He did it. Obi-Wan didn't have anything to do with it, which takes more
Makes a lot of sense.
yeah, which makes more sense, but it also takes power away from Kenobi because Obi-Wan thinks he caused this.
Right.
And Darth Vader's saying, no, you didn't. You had nothing to do with this. I did. So it takes more power away from him.
Well, Ken, I kind of think that powers him up more because I think that's his last burden. You know, we talk about his girlfriend dies. Everything has went wrong in his life, right?
Yeah.
And then Anakin is that last piece. And now that he knows that he didn't cause this, that's the last weight off of him. You know, maybe that's why he sees Qui-Gon now because all this burden he suffered is now gone.
And he says, okay, goodbye, Darth. Like he calls him by his name. I mean,
was like the ultimate dig, as Hit said. That was kind of funny. Like when he said that, like,
I don't know if was it a dig or was it just
I thought it was.
It was a reality check. It was like, okay, you want to take on this persona, then that's who you are.
Yeah.
You're no longer Anakin, you're Darth.
Yeah, he let go, I mean, he realized by Anakin saying that, that's the end. That's the end. I mean, it makes a lot more sense when we read the comics and all that stuff, why Darth is, how he is. Because that was my big question. How is Anakin going to be this type of, person and then go to be such a cold-blooded killer, as Darth Vader and everything? He killed him. He, in effect, killed the soul of Anakin, he still retains like the memories and stuff. And then by the time we see him in like, Return Empire Strikes Back, no, Return of the Jedi, he gets this one last bit of soul in him to when he sees his son Luke, and he sort of gets redeemed a bit at that point. So that's his last little bit, because otherwise throughout his whole career as Darth Vader, he's just cold. And the Luke is his only tether to to that reality of what he was before he became Darth and everything. So it makes a lot more sense in my eyes, when we go over this content, read the comics, and look at this and see how bad and see how the reasons why Darth is how he is.
Mm-hmm. And let's not forget the scene with Vader and the Emperor, because I was dying for that. For the past 5 weeks that we've been watching this, I'm like, where's the Emperor? Where he at? Well, there he is.
Yeah.
And Vader sitting on the throne on Mustafar, all healed up, overnight in a bacta tank, new armor, got the techs in there, fixed the helmet, fixed the respirator. And oh, wait. So during the fight between Obi-Wan and Vader, how about Obi-Wan using the Force to destroy all the electronics, all the tech? That was wow.
Yeah. Even the audio, you can hear, you can hear him gasping, his breath. I mean, the detail, that was that's top notch.
Yeah, with the count going back and forth, because they had a combination of James Earl Jones' voice with Anakin,
with Hayden Christensen,
Hayden Christensen and everything. That was decent. I like that.
Yeah, if they used the vocoder or something at the end where he's screaming Kenobi, it's both James Earl Jones and Hayden Christensen together, both voices.
Yeah,
they're very cool. But that scene with the Emperor, and the Emperor's testing him again, so
he did that with Kylo. I mean, that's the whole loophole in the set.
Listen, you know that you have an ex-boyfriend, and you can't be in a relationship with me and be going for your ex-boyfriend at the same time. You have to forget about that. That guy doesn't mean anything to me. Don't worry about it. I wouldn't, ignore the priorities of the Empire to see this person one more time, one more desperate time. I got this big vibe out of that. That's you can't hold on to your, the person who's wounded you before. You have to move on. That's what the Emperor doesn't want Vader pulling that thread, because if Vader goes looking for Obi-Wan, who's Vader gonna find? Luke. And when Vader finds Luke, Vader's gonna team up with Luke and turn on the Emperor.
Yeah.
Which
the Emperor can see it for serious, but the Emperor would foresee that if he goes after Kenobi, it's going to lead to probably the end of the Empire. So he's going to get on there and be like, "You shouldn't do that. That guy messed with your mind for years. He didn't treat you right."
Yeah. Keep in mind though, too, he just watched him basically whoop his ass. So he's like, "Yo, leave him be. Have you learned your lesson?" He keeps asking him this.
0 for 2. 0 for 2, and this time not a technicality. Yeah. This was not an injury.
Feeling so right about this.
He are you sure? He basically tells him leave the dude alone before you're dead.
Right.
Is this attachment over with? Have you learned? So I did like the McDermott. I did we got the Emperor. So many things, this full circle with this episode. It just, I know we're discussing so much, but it just makes it different. It makes episode 4 and 5 almost like filler episodes, and with 6, as we said, did we need it? How do you go from 1 and 2 to 6, and then 3 was all right, but you know what I mean? That 4 and 5, this was so climatic. I could have just. I wanted this all 6. If we were going to get 6, as you said, DP, why can't all 6 be like this?
Yeah, and like I said, the whole Rebel plot, B plot, and everything, they could have excised that and just made this whole thing about Luke, Leia. The Obi-Wan, Darth, Luke. I'm sorry, not Luke, but Leia. Just make it about them. And just the whole B plot was just unnecessary. It created. This just seems like you have too many characters and not enough episodes to let them breathe.
But was it unnecessary? I mean,
I don't see anything ahead.
It's engagement. You have to have something your new audiences sort of attracted to. So you've got people that maybe don't know these characters. Maybe they just stumbled upon this show and they're watching it. I think she was a character that would be relatable. I mean, you could understand what she was trying to do.
So you talking about the character that's your way in, to like, this new character that's the way in.
Yeah,
I can agree with that, but I think they did it poorly.
They might not have hit it out of the park with her. I think I still don't know why they opened it up where she was so angry at Ben. Like, why? Where was the anger? But then if you look at it, okay, so Anakin barged into the temple, killed all her friends, left her for dead, and Kenobi was supposed to be protecting them. At the time, that's the only protector she knew of. Where was he at? Like, that's what I felt was why she was so angry at him, because she left him, or she left her, or he left her.
The bad part about that is that's called headcanon. When you have to make up, reasons for your characters to make sense and everything, that's the intent. I mean, that's bad writing. You shouldn't have to create scenarios in your head. Okay, this is the reason why I think this character is happening. That needs to be put on screen and explained to you, in order for you to be further engaged. Now, if that's the way you engage with it, that's fine. I mean, you have a right to, however you want to watch the show, and that's fine. But to me, if I have to create reasons why this character is being motivated to do certain things and stuff, I think that's poor writing.
So think about the first time. Well, for me, when I watched episode 4 for the first time, when that opening scene happened, you didn't know who the good and the bad was. You didn't know maybe the great big ship that sucked up the little ship, maybe they were the good guys. You didn't know. You immediately started to make up stories and reasons why, maybe this character in the black suit and these white armored troopers, maybe they're the good guys. I mean, honestly, you kind of felt that. You didn't know exactly who the aggressor was.
You bring up a really good point. Now, are you coming at this from an adult perspective or from at the time where you saw it when it initially when
an immature kid perspective? Okay, as
you can be forgiven
as possible.
You can be forgiven. You're supposed to make up stories.
Exactly, and that's what this is all geared toward. This is all for entertainment and kids.
Here's what's different in your scenario. Like, you're right that we don't know who's good and who's bad, but I at no point don't understand what both groups are trying to do. Like, what do they want, right? And I think for Reva, like the problem with me with this character is what she wanted seemed to change a lot, and it seemed like maybe the series itself wasn't sure exactly what she wanted. It seemed like, is she trying to survive at all costs? Does she think the only way she can survive is if she kills Vader? Is she trying to be the Grand Inquisitor? Is that real? Is this all a plan B?
So you're saying she had too many plot lines.
It seemed like, because we didn't know for sure, and it really wasn't revealed to us what she was trying to do the whole time. When she said, "Oh, I'm trying to do this," it just seemed like it could have been anything. Right. So I wanted them to be a little bit more explicit in saying, like, oh, she got picked up by the Inquisitors and they kept her because of, X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And that caused, she didn't want to do it or whatever. And now she has to. Even something simple like that would have been fine. Because the way it is, it just seemed like, I thought she was, first it seemed like she was just being evil to be evil. And then it seemed like she had a vendetta against Kenobi. And then she had a vendetta against Vader. And then she's going to go kill this kid. Like, because the information she has isn't this is Vader's couldn't do it, and then she couldn't do it anyway. So it was she didn't actually want to kill him. So it's for that character to end that place. It feels more frustrating for them not to commit child murder. Like, why there wasn't enough child murder in this episode? You know what I mean? Like, you find yourself
done really fast. Her redemption happened too quickly. Like,
what she redeemed was she's secret agent trying to kill Vader the whole time, right? And if that's the case, is she that bad? If she's really just trying to murder the person who's oppressing the galaxy,
essentially, she's
trying to murder that person's son.
Yeah, that's stupid. That's indirect, right? That doesn't make as much sense as her going after Vader, because when they say Lars name, she remembers it from that interaction she had with him on Tatooine. Mm-hmm. But but is she gonna get the kid and bring him back to Vader? Because that's what she was doing with Leia. She was bringing the kid to Vader to press on Bail Organa, right? To put pressure on Bail. But Owen doesn't have anything to get. You can't get anything out of him. He doesn't have anything. He's a dirt farmer. You know what I mean? So, why was she going there in the first place? I know it was to kill him, but why was she going to kill this kid? For no reason other than a name got named, right?
Yeah. I don't think she wanted to kill him. I think she was going to take him to Vader to get back in, back.
But that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense because she wants to kill Vader. She really hates Vader. She wants to, because the thing she was seeing in her head was herself getting stabbed by Vader. So this is the problem with me, is that there's a motivation disconnect, or I'm just not getting it. Like, that's very possible, guys, that maybe I'm just not getting it.
I mean, you're exactly right, because I was really muddled on her reasoning and motivations and going to Tatooine and trying to get Skywalker. I mean, it was muddled to me, and like I said before, I mean, I don't like to make up reasons as to why, but it needs to be stated to me more clearly as to why she was doing this. Far and beyond that, I mean, it's still it's still a solid episode.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't want to get bogged down in that being the one.
No.
Right. It's still a solid episode. Yeah. It made the frustrating thing is it made me actually care about this character in the end. I'm like, okay, I want to see a little bit more now, but it's just one more episode. I mean, that's the last thing. So, but I mean, everything else was like, pretty much on point. As Ken pointed out, the interaction with Obi-Wan and Leia at the end, that was just excellent. Have presented like your callbacks. Qui-Gon Jinn just showing up.
Yeah,
he's in this one too.
I mean,
is that an Easter egg for Taken 5? We have another Taken coming out here.
Listen to me.
Yeah. I got an interesting set of skills.
You're going to be taken by this droid.
He's like, come on, let's go. It's like, okay.
We're going to take
the episode ended about 5 times.
Right. Yeah.
They could actually cut it at the Darth Vader and on the throne scene and everything, but
no. Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that.
they kept it going and everything. Then we get the final with Qui-Gon and stuff, and then they had another scene with them just walking out in the distance and everything. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So he's not going to just hang out on Tatooine now? He's going to go do other stuff, but Luke still knows who he is, and he lives there, and he's there by the time he needs to be. So, all right.
I mean, it leaves room, and we talked about it. All these different characters. We have Leia now. We have Reva that she can do a show. I mean, she can be the new Tara. She can, join up with Kenobi. I mean, yeah, there's room now. There's character development. There's stories we can go with. We still have the Inquisitors. They can do maybe a Sith story finally, or whatever, a dark side user if they're not really Sith. We can do the Vader series. I mean, there's so many ways that this is just like the Mandalorian almost. It's like the pilot for this other universe. But it's weird because I know that Filoni and them have said they're staying away from these stories in the future. So I don't know how this will all pan out because they just recently said that they kind of want to leave this era alone and go to the Mandalorian or back to the High Republic.
I think it's a high time they leave this era. I mean, you could tell the stories in the books or like, novels and stuff, but you don't need another series. And I also think that if they're going to do Vader again, they better do him as a movie. Don't do him as a series. The Vader is Vader is high class epic stuff. You want to put that in a movie, big screen type form. I don't want to see Vader again on a small screen. I don't. No. He needs to be up in the he's an upper echelon character. He's one of like the top 5 villains of all time and everything.
Kind of like Han Solo.
Yeah. He is the top. I mean, I think if you asked anybody who they think the number 1 movie villain is, I mean, Vader's coming up
movie
over and over again.
I was saying movie villain. I would give Doctor Doom a 1A. Personally, he's my favorite.
Doom.
Movie.
The
Fantastic Four movie was trash.
Oh my God!
It's movie. I'm talking about real life.
Save this clip.
Not movie, not the movie. I'm talking about as far as movie villains, not that movie. Come on now. No, Chris, But no.
Ooh.
Yeah, but no. I'm talking about villains, not the movies.
You gotta put Joker in there somewhere, man.
All-time
All right, he's
villains.
talking Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom himself is fine. I have
Dr.
no
Doom.
problem
But
with
yeah,
that.
I can
All-time
agree.
villain.
Darth Vader is probably like number one. Joker somewhere. Probably like on his back. But anyway,
The only problem with putting Vader in a series is that like Vader's objective is usually to kill everyone in the series. So if you interject Vader into the story, you have two options. One is like a Rogue One ending, which can work out, and two is he ends in a very frustrated position, right?
Right.
So
someone getting away.
Right. That's it. Right? He has to let someone go or something, or
Yeah.
make a mistake, or like something stupid for some reason.
Vader really doesn't want to kill everybody. He wants to kill one single person. His anger is focused entirely on one person. So right now it's Kenobi. Like at the end of this, his anger is focused on Kenobi. Now he will destroy anyone that comes between him and that objective, but he doesn't care about the rebellion. He really doesn't. He really doesn't care about any of that. Even if we go to A New Hope, we'll fast forward a little bit. Death Star, him and Tarkin had completely different motivations. Tarkin wanted to increase the Empire's reign. Vader wanted to destroy Kenobi. I mean, even at that point, even after he sensed him, that was it. Focused on one person.
Vader didn't care about the politics.
Not at all. He was complete. It was personal. It was absolutely personal. And that's his downfall, is he let that personal vendetta cloud everything. The Emperor tried to rein it back. And that's what that conversation at the end of this episode was so intriguing, because we saw that relationship build, those little threads of, the bond kind of, the Emperor's like, are you sure? Like, he's questioning him. Are you sure your motivation is in the right place? And he's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. The Emperor has like, a microphone like Bluetooth all over the whole universe. So he
Everywhere.
he has cameras, he has a drone, he sees everything. So I mean, like, think about it. You have your Padawan, your Sith apprentice, calling his ex-master still. So that's why he's asked him, like, or who's the master here? Like, you just called him your master, or am I your master? So it's funny because he said
call out. Yeah.
He says he killed him, but he really didn't, because he still looks up to him. So it's that internal conflict. And then, as I said, the payoff with Obi-Wan is he knows that he didn't kill him, so that's off his back. Well, when Vader essentially kills Obi-Wan in 4, or he thinks that he kills him, that's weight off his back. So then there's nothing left in him, right? He's not complete anymore. So when he finds out he has a child, that opens the light side back up, right?
Yep.
So it's that whole finality.
Yep, all along. He doesn't care about the politics. He doesn't care about the Empire and the rebellion and the Outer Rim and all this crap. All he cares about is the next single person that he can direct his entire anger element toward. Yeah. And what's the next thing? His son. Because now the Emperor has built in him this idea that his son is going to take his place at the Emperor's side. So now Vader's got to stop that.
He's like, oh no,
no! I'm not going to let my son take over my place next to you. And then his head must have exploded when he found out that his son, he had a sister, he has a daughter. Good. This whole epic story. What a great Father's Day surprise for us to find out that the father is really the most important part of this entire thing. It's family. It's all family.
It's the linchpin of good storytelling. Daddy issues. Every good hero has one.
100%. I mean, DP, you got a son, right? So that relationship,
I see the issues coming too.
You see it. And the struggle is ultimate between you and your son.
Yeah,
you and your daughter is probably like pretty smooth.
Oh yeah. She knows how to she knows how to work me.
Right. but the sun's back. I mean, that's a totally different thing, you know. And I see it every day. So that, to me, that it gets me when they build on that in these stories. When I see that relationship, and I got to call out Owen Lars, like real quick, Father of the Year, protecting this boy. Right. I mean, him and his wife stood up against an inquisitor, like a Sith Lord, as far as they were concerned, pretty much beat her. I mean, right?
Yeah,
it was for mortals to come up with that amount of strength and energy. I mean, that's
that's a good thing about the B plot, because you see it from their perspective. They're doing a lot to protect the child that they received, that they didn't, they weren't birthed, you know, they didn't conceive like the child and everything, you know, they were handed, you know, Luke, you know, and were, you know, assigned to protect them. So if you want to look at that from that perspective, it was a great way for us to look at how they were protecting. And we got to see a lot of interaction with, you know, Owen and, you know, his wife and everything. And, you know, that, I guess, that redemption of him. So I can appreciate the part of that plot, you know, for you know, in this particular episode there.
And maybe it built that back a little bit. Maybe it redeemed that B plot a little bit when we saw this conflict. Maybe you got to strip everything down, break everybody apart before you can really see the story, really see what's going on, the emotions. I mean, even when Reva says to him, "You love this boy like he's your own." And what did Owen say? "He is my own."
Right.
Like he took ownership and he said, "Yeah, this kid is mine, and you aren't touching him." And,
right. But, you know, and his hit brings us full circle, and you guys rightly say this when we talk about these storylines of reality, right? You know, look at the Jedi and how bad they really are now portrayed even more. These are militarized children, right? In a sense, they're taken from their families. So she's going through PTSD, right? Which is a real thing. She's suffering, and she's never had a father figure because her children trained to be soldiers, essentially, right? So her final payoff is you see her finding out that this force sensitive child, or whatever, this child has somebody who cares for her. So then her mind breaks because she essentially hasn't had that. She hasn't had a father, right?
Yeah.
These Jedi younglings never had, as we talk about the story of parenting.
That's good, man.
So
that's good.
You know,
wait until the last episode to make her interesting, to make that
right.
part. So everything about her this episode was interesting.
But as we see these stories, you know, in this Filoni verse, this really makes the Jedi out to really be worse than the Sith, if you think about it. Like,
did we talk about that before?
We have, right? I mean, we'll say this Jedi.
Look at it.
I just disagree with you guys, because the problem is if you're force sensitive and you don't deal with it, it's an issue, and it makes you a target. So, and we've seen that play out with Grogu and Mandalorian, and with Luke Skywalker now. You don't train them, it's dangerous because people will find them. Because when you use the Force, other Force users could feel it. It's like I don't know, like a magnetism or something. You know what I mean? Like you can feel it but not see it. So the Jedi are preparing these children to be used in a way that's helpful for society, that doesn't, you know, result in their deaths, or some primitive place thinking that these Jedi are witches that goes against some sort of pre-galactic, you know, local religion.
Yeah.
For some reason, they think that that's more important than, you know, something else. And the next thing you know is these kids are in dire straits. So I guess I'm just less critical of how the Jedi, you know, are with the kids. I think that we could have seen more flashbacks there and see more of the Jedi being arrogant, and then I would believe you. But here we only see a Sith murder a bunch of kids, and then you're trying to pin that on the Jedi? That's crap. It's trash. It wasn't even a Jedi that did it, blue lightsaber or not.
Right.
Well, it wasn't murder at the time. It was a directive. Following orders. It had nothing to do with murder. There was no emotion behind it. Like murder, by its definition, has emotion behind it. I mean, there's a motivation. Anakin was just following orders. He was just following. So were the clone troopers. There was no.
Okay, so I guess it's your perspective definition when soldiers go to war and they kill other, you know, their enemies or whatever, is that considered murder, or they're just following directives? You know,
they're just following directives. It's not
from
murder.
the perspective of
It can be murder. What if they don't know you're coming?
exactly, you know, from the perspective of the person that they're trying to kill, you know, they're essentially, you know, murdering. You know, they're. I mean, if you could come at it from anything in life, could be looked at it from a perspective.
Right.
That's the great thing about choice.
That's the joy of life.
You know, just looking at things and stuff. But I mean, you call a spade, it is what it is, and everything. You know, if like as Hitch said, if they don't know that you're coming and you're done, you know, somebody gave a directive to kill somebody, you still have that choice to do it or not. You know, you're not a robot. You know, well, I mean, I guess if you look at the clones and everything, they did have a chip.
Were robots.
They did have a chip.
Between Anakin and the clones is Anakin was given a choice.
Yeah.
And he chose to do it anyway.
Right.
That's what killed Anakin and brought Darth Vader about.
I mean, Hitch, to your point though, I think my whole part that brings the Jedi in this negative outlook is when we talk about the story of Star Wars and family, right? So I understand what you're saying, but so you know the council, right? There were adult Jedis there. They weren't nurturing these children other than basically making them soldiers. They were training them, right? I understand you want to grab forces and children, but there were no like, you know, the temple guards. There were people that should have been like caring for these children as they are still children coming through the force, right? You know, I would just consider this to be a lot more like, to me, it seems like, you know, these countries who train children to be athletes, to go to the Olympics at 12, right? There should have been some kind of like parental care, some emotion attached to it. And when I say the Jedi, it's really like the Coruscant Council. Look how they treated Anakin. Look how Mace Windu talked to him. Like the arrogance to them. So you know what I mean? That's where I think my part with the whole Jedi is painted, you know, in a worse light. It's just maybe they could have. I mean, in hindsight, obviously,
So was
Jedi
Jedi actually taking and kidnapping some force sensitive children from their parents without permission from like the parents?
Yes, of course. It's in the game. The what was that? Fallen Order. Cal Kestis is like drugged from his like brother. Like they like drug him out of the house. Like you're coming with us. And his brother's like, why? And they basically like don't tell him that you're not force sensitive. So it's known that
crap, man.
Those Jedi are going to be doing comeuppance.
Interesting.
We'll see what happens to them.
So everybody is not pure good. Everybody's not pure evil, huh? You know,
well, that's why the gray. That's why
that we're playing in the gray now.
That's right.
It's a little bit of both. And
that's why the gray ones are the strong ones.
Yeah, it does show where you can't go all the way right, all the way left. You got to be a little bit balanced.
Right.
And what does balance mean? What does balance mean? Balance of the Force. That was that Anakin was supposed to bring balance to the Force. So here he is. He was born from the midichlorians to Shmi, raised, trained by Obi Wan, fell to the dark side, didn't bring balance to the Force, or did he? Was Order 66 the balance? Like, was it supposed to happen that way? You know?
I mean, yes, it was supposed to happen because
to
set up events to lead to Luke Skywalker bringing balance to the Force later down the line.
Yeah,
so, I mean, things happen. Bring it back. I mean, if you look at it from a life perspective, things happen for a reason. Or, I mean, you set off a chain of events to happen in order for a certain event and thing to happen. You know, you can't have like, you know, Luke saving the galaxy or bringing balance to the Force without Order 66 and all that stuff happening. I mean,
Reva was just a victim.
Yeah,
a victim in the whole thing. She took it her way. She decided to sort of get confused. I mean, basically, we're all saying that she was confused.
I say she chose her confusion. You know. Yeah. You could revel in your confusion, and she chose to be angry as she was instead of actually, you know, doing a little bit more investigation.
And she presented her anger at multiple targets. You know, she was angry at Kenobi, and then she was angry at Anakin, and then she was angry at Darth Vader, and she didn't have the internal strength to focus that anger into one place. into one person, and
She was all over the place.
She broke, and it wasn't until the end that she saw that maybe she was doing it to herself.
Yeah.
There was a situation, and she sort of made the wrong decision because she was what, 10, 9?
Yeah. Grenades, throw her off.
I still say throw it. I still say don't hold that grenade. Throw that grenade.
I would hold it, but that's just me. I mean,
you got a chance.
Interesting.
Based on her force abilities, you should have threw it back at her. Like just like she can stop a ship shooting a machine gun blaster bolts at her with her lightsaber, but she can't stop two single action rifles.
Right,
Okay.
single act. Those were great weapons, right?
Okay.
When Peru pulled those out of the wall, they were they were flintlock blasters from the Civil War. She's like, "Here, take these." Okay.
Yeah.
We got these out of the armory in Martin's Ferry.
Exactly.
They got a nice setup though in Tatooine. I mean, it never rains in southern, Tatooine.
Never.
I mean, they got like outside, lounge stuff. I mean, just the way their house is built is just interesting.
And they got potted plants that can actually stop Sith. Right? Owen is kicking these like marigold plastic planter boxes at her, and she's like, "Ah!"
Yeah, he's taking like those are like clay pots. Those are heavy. I mean, he got a strong. He must have the force in his foot. I ain't kicking over no porcelain pot full of soil in a plant.
And a bunch of tulips. I mean, she was getting like devastated by those flowers. It was like, wow, this is great.
If they made it seem like if they had made it seem like she really didn't want to do this and was all apathetic about it, it would have made it so much better. She was just like, and they kept like throwing those pots and like plants, like doing a Home Alone pranks on her, like she's stepping on a nail, and she's just like, I don't want to do this, and she's
you're calling her Marv.
Yeah, she's Marv in this, and that's I think where the win is on this show is if we have just some slapstick comedy right in the middle of a chase.
And there was like at the end the homage, all the throwbacks, the music, Obi-Wan talking to Leia, and then Obi-Wan meeting Luke. I mean, there was all kind of connections and tie-ups, and I kind of forgot about Reva. I kind of forgot about all that because the end was so good. I mean, the last 10 minutes of this episode was legit, like probably great start, just like the end of any of the Star Wars movies, the way they tie things up and have things happening in different places and putting the characters to bed, like making, getting everything to rest. Great stuff.
Yeah, it was, I mean, that battle was really it for me though. I mean, just to see, and think about it. Like how fast they were, like the duel. I mean, that was really the episode to me, was the duel. Like that's all I cared about, and to see how like quick they were moving. I mean, these are agile actors, right? They're quick, they're young, and these are really them at the peak, I guess, of their powers based on their age at the same time. I mean, the battle was epic. We see different force abilities. Even the stuff that Obi-Wan did, that's kind of like dark side-ish. You don't see Jedi really force crush, and he's breaking his electronics, so you're kind of seeing that anger in him, but that little bit of Qui-Gon in him. Sometimes you have to harness a little bit of the dark, right, with the light. So the battle was cool for him to hold the stones up to see other force abilities. That whole exchange, I mean, was like, and honestly, the whole fight reminded me of Rebels, just like the helmet slash. That was like Filoni was like, I'm going to put that Rebels battle into this, and let's see it on the real screen. And that's why I think it resonated with me, because I like that battle in Rebels so much between him and Ahsoka, that was just like, man, this is cool. And to see it in live action, we talk about every episode how this episode looks. If you watch this in a dark room, like, man, this looks good. This looks like you would be in a theater, as DP says. The way this episode is, the lighting of it, to me, that was meant to be like in a theater.
I feel like the volume also really came of age in this series, what we're seeing them do with, where I can't tell how much is real. Like I know that I can tell that there are scenes where like he's walking into ships that I know there's no ship there, and he's just walking straight back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're just they're putting the ship there and moving the camera and everything in concert. Like you can tell they're doing it, and I thought that has really made it so that you can have a show like this where you can shoot it. And let's not forget that this production was like 2021, not a great year for big casts and a lot of outdoorsy stuff and a lot of complicated. The logistics were not exactly easy in 2021 when it comes to physical health safety. So hopefully some of this is a result of we can get more grandeur and scale as we get back to normal economically. And if they decide to give Reva a video game or something, I'm down for that. I would want to see. I want to see more filler there. I want to see more color. So I want to see more.
Give her a comic or whatever. Write a novel. I mean, that's essentially what they do with some of these extra characters and everything.
Yeah. I mean, the estimated budget, on the Kenobi series for each episode, each 6 were around 20 million. So I mean, that's decent. But keep in mind, a lot of that's overall, including actor salaries and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I mean, still, that's good money on a limited series for them to be able to put that up. That's impressive. It's impressive.
I'm ready to move on.
Right. Couple months, right? What is it? We have Andor coming, so yeah. Well, that's similar timeline. So we're still not moving on yet, but we'll move on to the spring for you.
When I say move on, Andor is a character we that's not a legacy character. This whole situation with Andor is new, so it's in that time period, but it's new.
When's that drop?
I think like the end of August.
Yeah,
August. So what do we have coming up in the next couple of weeks? Nothing.
We got the comics. We're going to be getting back into the comic stuff.
Okay.
Big segue there, Lars.
Darth.
Back to hoopla.
And I gotta give props to Baru too. Baru, hidden, came out of nowhere and gave Reva the smackdown too. I mean, what a great way to build these characters up. So I definitely want to see more of them. So season 2, Obi Wan Kenobi, sign it up. Just do it. I mean,
they got so lucky when they cast Joel Edgerton. And you shouldn't even say lucky, because I think that time has really borne out a lot of the casting choices of George Lucas as being very correct. I think Jimmy Smith is excellent as Bail Organa here. I think Hayden Christensen, if anybody thought his performances were lacking in the prequels, I think that he's redeemed them here. I mean, just
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. I mean, like I said, if you're going to do Vader again, if you're going to do a series, I mean, that's but put him back on a big screen.
Kevin Feige, call him up.
Christensen and
one thing I love about this is that it proved me right, and that's I always love being proven right. When I said that these characters could function in a better story and that would be much more interesting. I think seeing Anakin and Obi-Wan, even in the flashback, being in this story with better dialogue that's less wooden, it makes it run. And I think the characters are good. And if they decide to have Vader cameo again and they want it to be Christensen, I'd be very happy to hear that. It's almost the name brand. Star Wars is kind of what you get when you have Ewan and Hayden and back before when Carrie Fisher was in it. It's name brand. It's not a knockoff. It's going to be real A+. It's got Tony the Tiger instead of Tommy the Lion. You know what I mean? It's the good stuff.
Right.
And get James L. Jones to start saying words. Like he needs to say every word.
With artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. This is the crazy thing. With artificial intelligence, that's going to become less and less of an issue, especially because I'm sure they've been doing that. And I'm sure that there is plenty of ink governing how that will work on the unfortunate day that we have to do without Mr. Jones's wonderful performance.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, as we've all said here, so this coming week, we're only doing NCFS. So as DP said, make sure you guys are tuning into other platforms. That will be this coming week, our only episode. And then we will be returning with the Vader comics. And what we'll do also for you guys who are new, which if you're new, please smash a like and subscribe. before we jump into the comics, I'd like to do basically we're going to do a season review. So we'll do a quick season review of this whole Obi-Wan series. I like to have done it with the Boba Fett. We didn't do that, but it's something I think that would be nice for
Okay.
us to spend maybe 10 or 15 minutes and just doing basically an overall view of the series as a whole. It'll give everybody some time who are new, who haven't watched it, to come on board to watch all 6 episodes, and for us to really sit back. If somebody want to rewatch it, I know I will, and give your whole finality, your whole finite idea of what it was you're seeing and what you thought about it. So, yeah, we'll do a quick review before we get jump into the comics. That'll be what, 6 to 12, finishing off season 1 of the comics, right, DP?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
or 7 to 12 maybe, yeah, but yeah, we'll finish off the first set of the Vader comics, and we'll continue to give you guys content. So as we said time and time again, please tune into our platforms, interact with us online, as you'll find all of us on there. And until next time we see you guys, this is the way.
This is the way.
Okay, now it's the way.